Hey everybody, Elida Zweidler-McKay with ZM Coach, where we're all about helping you with your career success, whether that's taking your career to the next level in the organization you're already in or finding a new opportunity and moving on somewhere else. So good morning. Today I want to talk to you about executive presence. One of the things that I want us to really be thinking about is that word presence, because having a really strong executive presence, being the kind of person who walks in the room and gathers people's attention or gets people's attention, being the kind of person that folks want to listen to when you speak up, having the confidence to speak up, to say what's on your mind, to have the words flow from you easily. All of that comes from really being able to be present, be in touch with the current moment, be in touch with what you want and where you're headed and what you want to get across to people. And that is something that actually can be built. So today I want to talk to you about some of the things that get in the way of having that kind of executive presence, that kind of compelling, attractive way of interacting in the world, and what you can do to be building it. So one of the things that I find for my clients most gets in the way of having that really strong, compelling executive presence is past experiences and unresolved feelings. So let me give you an example of this. This is kind of an extreme example, but I worked with one client who had left a job because he had been treated really badly. The politics had really gotten out of hand, and he was asked to leave or left. I can't remember which, but it was sort of a force out kind of situation. And at the point that we started working together, it was clear that he had not yet gotten over that experience, that something about it had really tapped into a core part of his identity and left him feeling kind of bruised. And the problem with that was that he had gone out there and started looking for his next job and gone into interviews. But whenever a interviewer would ask him, why did you leave your prior job? All of those feelings of being, put down and feeling bad and what should he have done differently and how it all had gone wrong would just come flooding back in. So there he would be sitting in the job interview in this place where he's, trying to present himself really well. And instead of being able to be present in the moment, he's having all of these feelings that are coming up. So he ends up feeling really tense and almost choking back tears because he hasn't yet cleared out, he hadn't yet moved through all of the bad feelings that he had from that prior job. And so, there he was kind of holding everything back and just giving this canned response that some career coach had given him to say, but without having worked what was underneath it, he ended up coming across really strange, right? And really rehearsed. And so, of course, there weren't any offers that came from that period of his work. So he and I dug in to work together and really helped him get clear about what had happened and what had been on him and what had been in the other people. We helped him really understand, what he had been through and feel some compassion for himself and take care of himself in some really important ways. And once he was able to do that, then he was able to show up in interviews. And when they would ask, what caused you to leave? He had a genuine response that was still, thoughtful and careful and projected himself in a good light without putting his former company down. But it wasn't like he had this internal wrestling match going on where he was trying to say one thing but was feeling all these other things. So being in a place where you can be present requires that you have some processes in place where you can clear out those past feelings and move through them and really come out the other side so that they don't sidetrack you in the moment when you're trying to be in front of people and perform, whether that's, leading your team or in a job interview or presenting in some kind of corporate setting. So that is the first step, is to really find a way to clear anything that's distracting you, clear out any bad feelings or frustrated feelings or discouragement that's getting in your way from really being present. Now, the other kind of thing that can hold us back and keep us from being present are some habitual thought patterns. And one of those kinds of thought patterns are the habitual kind of worrying about what other people think of us. This can be majorly distracting. If you're in a meeting or you're presenting or you're in a job interview and you're constantly kind of worrying about what are they thinking of me? Do they like me? Am I sitting in the right way? Am I saying the right things? All that chatter that can go on in our heads, that train of thought can really distract us from being able to really be present in the moment, that part of ourselves that's making up all these stories about what's going on with the other people around us can really move us out of the connection with ourselves and with the other people that we need in order to have that really strong executive presence and compelling sense of partnership that's going to move you forward in your career. Now, there is a difference between being able to read the room and be attuned to your audience and connected to your audience from that sort of noisy chatter. And so, obviously, when you're in a conversation with somebody, you want to be connected to them and aware of what's happening on their side of the table. But if you're letting that then lead to all kinds of distracting thoughts, that's what's going to pull you out of the present moment. And so having a way to notice those thoughts, having a practice where you can let them go and pull yourself back to center is one of the really important keys to being able to have that really strong executive presence. Like mine right now, distracted by my little dog who wants out of the room. So let's just handle that, shall we? You want out? There you go. Okay. Oh. All right. So then the third kind of thing that can pull us out of that executive presence is when we're living in the future. That's another of those habitual thought patterns. A lot of people who are really good at planning, really good at thinking ahead. The downside of that skill is that you can also end up being really good at imagining all the ways that the process you're in could go wrong, or the decision that you're making could go wrong, or the interview that you're in could lead to a bad outcome. And so being in that place where you're thinking about what could go wrong or thinking about what you want to say next instead of really listening can also get in the way of having that kind of sense of presence, where you're imagining a worst case scenario, or you're picturing a foregone conclusion from, like, I know how this conversation is going to go, or I know what this person's going to say, or I know how this decision is going to go. All of that gets in the way of really allowing the discussion or the process to emerge, to unfold, to develop. And it's that sense of emergence and unfolding and developing that gives people the opportunity to be really creative and innovative in their work. So finding a way to build up that part of yourself, that part that can sit with the uncertainty and can allow for the emergence, is another really important component of building your executive presence and building that style where people are excited to work with you and want to work with you because you see possibilities and not just the negative ones, right? So when I work with my clients, I really help them build awareness of these kinds of habitual patterns. We look for those emotions that need to get cleared out, those bad feelings that need to get set aside and moved through so that you can be really present in the moment. We look for those habitual thought patterns where you're going into this chatter stream about what's happening in the other people, where you're going to the negative predictions or you're predicting what's going to happen in the future. And we really build an awareness of what are some of the common triggers for you that tend to pull you into those places. What's the body awareness so you can tell when you're in them? And then that way you have all kinds of clues that can really help you notice anytime you're shifting out of being really present. And also, we work on tactics to help you reclaim that executive presence so that you can really show up with that confidence, that clarity, that sense of groundedness and gravitas that tends to pull people's energy toward you and tends to get you seen as someone who's really a competent leader, who can take things forward, who can make things happen. So when you can have those skills and those develop those tactics, then you can really come across as someone that people will want to work with, people will want to follow. So whether you're looking for a new job and you're interviewing, or you're wanting to show up as the best version of yourself in the job that you're in, maybe for a promotion, or maybe just to feel like you're doing amazing work and that you're in the right place for yourself, all of those pieces of building your executive presence are really important, and learning how to move out of all the ways that move you out of presence are also really useful. If this is something that's intriguing to you, I'd love to have you learn more. And one way to do that is to book a call with me. And you can do that at zmcoach.com/apply. We'll get on the phone for about 45 minutes, talk about your current situation, what has you struggling in your career right now, and if I can help you get to where it is that you want to go, we'll talk about what that could look like. And if I'm not the right resource, I'll point you to someone who is. But either way, my goal is for you to get some real clarity on that call about your current situation, where you're headed, and what it's going to take to get from here to there. You can, again, book that with me at zmcoach.com/apply. I look forward to talking to you. Take care.